Hello everyone. Welcome to our latest video. Today, we're taking a look at one of the most iconic fighters of World War II, the Messerschmitt Bf-109. This aircraft was the backbone of the Luftwaffe, renowned for its speed, maneuverability, and important role in the history of air warfare. Let's take a deeper dive into the story behind the legend of the Bf-109. From its inception to its influence that endures to this day. The Messerschmitt Bf-109 was designed by Willy Messerschmitt in 1934. The project aimed to create a fighter that could dominate the air with the most advanced technology of its time. The Bf-109 made its maiden flight in 1935 and immediately made history. It was built with a revolutionary aerodynamic design. It used an aluminum frame for strength as well as lightweight, fitted with the Daimler-Benz DB601 engine. Later upgraded to the DB605, it delivered outstanding performance for air warfare. The Bf-109 was one of the first fighters to use an enclosed cockpit and retractable landing gear, making it a major innovation in aviation technology. Bf-109 was the backbone of Luftwaffe in almost all the battles in World War II. Here are its important roles in some major campaigns. Battle of Britain, 1940. Faced with British fighters such as Spitfire and Hurricane. Strengths: superior climb rate and more powerful armament. Weaknesses: short operational range made this aircraft often run out of fuel in the middle of a mission. Eastern Front, 1941 to 1945. Became the mainstay in fighting Soviet aircraft such as Yak-3 and Lavochkin La-5. Legendary pilots such as Erich Hartmann, who scored 352 aerial victories, relied on Bf-109 to maintain his dominance in the air. North African and Mediterranean campaign. Facing extreme weather conditions, Bf-109 continued to prove its reliability against Allied aircraft such as P-40 Warhawk. Despite facing enormous challenges, the Bf-109 managed to carve out a reputation as a formidable and fearsome fighter aircraft. Like any other war technology, the Bf-109 had its advantages and disadvantages. Let's see what made it so deadly, yet so vulnerable. High speed and superior climbing ability. Aerodynamic design that allowed for sharp maneuvers. Powerful armament that could destroy Allied bombers with ease. Limited operational range, making it vulnerable during long-range patrols. Cramped cockpit with poor rear visibility. Difficult to control for new pilots, especially during takeoff and landing. Allied pilots exploited this weakness by attacking the Bf-109 while it was vulnerable on the runway. Of the many aircraft that fought in aerial combat during World War II, one German aircraft has become a legend, the Messerschmitt Bf-109. It was the backbone of the Luftwaffe's fighter force until the arrival of the Focke-Wulf 190 in 1941. When introduced in February 1937, the Bf-109 was the most advanced fighter platform with its metal-skinned construction, enclosed cockpit, monoplane wing design, and retractable landing gear. It was a favorite among pilots and a threat to enemies in aerial combat. Early history of the Bf-109. After Germany's defeat in World War I, the Treaty of Versailles forced the country to sign an agreement that many considered to be a violation. The treaty limited Germany's military strength to 100,000 men, reduced its territory, and required it to pay £6.6 billion in war reparations to France and Britain. The result was hyperinflation and political instability, paving the way for Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party to seize power. Under the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was prohibited from having an air force. However, civil aviation slowly re-emerged with the formation of Lufthansa as the national airline. At the same time, aeronautical engineer Willy Messerschmitt began his career designing the M-20 transport aircraft, which initially failed and resulted in several fatal accidents. In 1926, Messerschmitt founded his own aviation company, WWII Flugzeugwerk, Bf-109. When Hitler and the Nazis came to power in 1933, they began a massive rearmament program, including the development of a modern fighter for the Luftwaffe. The German Ministry of Aviation held a competition to design a new fighter aircraft, which was attended by Heinkel, Focke-Wulf, Arado, and Bf-109. Messerschmitt used the experience of the Bf-108 civil aircraft to develop a new aircraft design, the Messerschmitt Bf-109. The guns used on the Bf-109 were placed further along the wing. A large hole was cut in the spar to allow for the installation of the gun and ammunition feeding system. Each gun was fitted with a 60-round ammunition drum, which was placed near the wing root. This created a slight bulge on the underside of the wing. To overcome this problem, a small hatch was added to the bulge to allow the crew to easily change the ammunition drum. All the guns could be inspected by opening a panel on the wing leading edge. To increase firepower, an additional 20mm MG-FF cannon, and on lighter models, the MG-151-15 cannon, was mounted inside the engine, through the propeller shaft. This system was known as a motor cannon. The placement of the 20mm cannon inside the engine was one of the most interesting innovations. The Daimler-Benz 600 series engine, which powered many Bf-109 models, was designed inverted. Unlike the Rolls-Royce Merlin engines of the Supermarine Spitfire and Hawker Hurricane, the gun was mounted behind the engine and was partially integrated into the hollow engine shaft. Its position and design ensured that the fired shells did not touch the rotating shaft and allowed the exhaust gases to escape smoothly. Although very effective and precise, some of the Luftwaffe's best pilots, such as Adolf Galland, disliked the addition of the gun. They considered that engine vibration, recoil, and overheating problems often caused the gun to jam, especially in early models. The Bf-109 was equipped with a number of modern features that supported its maneuverability in the air. One of them was the automatic slat on the wing leading edge. This slat automatically extended when the aerodynamic pressure on the wing increased, allowing the aircraft to perform sharp maneuvers and increase lift performance. However, not all pilots liked this feature. In high-speed air combat, the slat could sometimes cause the aircraft to suddenly stall, lose lift. The narrow landing gear was also a major weakness of the Bf-109. This wheel was placed under the fuselage rather than under the wings, which made it difficult to take off or land. According to Ernst Marin, a Bf-109 pilot, in my opinion, the main drawback was that the landing gear was too close to the fuselage. On takeoff, the aircraft often pulled to the left, and many accidents occurred because of this. Compared to the Focke-Wulf 190, which had wider and more stable landing gear, the Bf-109 was more difficult to operate on uneven surfaces. As a result, many novice pilots died on their first flight attempts. It is estimated that around 1,750 Bf-109s were lost due to landing gear accidents during the war. However, once in the air, the Bf-109 was a formidable fighter. Its wings were light and designed for easy retraction. When stacked flush with the fuselage, the Bf-109 took up little space, making it ideal for transport by road or rail. The fuselage was streamlined and aggressive, while the enclosed cockpit provided additional protection for the pilot. Steel plates behind the pilot's seat protected the head from enemy fire, although the cockpit was quite cramped and restricted rearward visibility. The first engine used by the Bf-109 was the Junkers Jumo 210, which produced 690 horsepower. However, to increase performance, the Daimler-Benz 600 series engines were introduced. These produced 1,050 horsepower, which continued to increase throughout the war. The Daimler-Benz engines were of an inverted design and used a sophisticated fuel injection system, as opposed to the conventional carburetors found in the Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. This system provided a quicker engine response and allowed for negative G maneuvers without the risk of fuel cutoff. This gave the Bf-109 an advantage over the early Spitfire and Hurricane variants, which often suffered from fuel failure during similar maneuvers. The Daimler-Benz also featured an automatically variable supercharger, which increased engine power at higher altitudes. For example, on the Bf-109 E3, this engine gave a power advantage of 200 horsepower over the Spitfire Mark I.